Good evening, peeps. How we doing? Sam here. Oh, jeez. Just eating dinner. Back in the game. Sam here, United People's TV, and we're here with the Here We Go for Alejandro Garnacho to Chelsea. We've been waiting all summer for it. 28th of August. Fabrizio Romano's tweeted about 4,394 times about it. And now we got the Here We Go. I'll run through the deal, the sell-on percentage, have a conversation about Garnacho, have a conversation about Garnacho and Amorim. Then we'll talk a little bit about Hojlund and Napoli, and then a little bit on Amorim towards the end. But it's an evening show. It's kind of an extra show because we've got the Here We Go. Be waiting for it. Get involved in the chat as you always do. Like, what's your overall feeling? I think we all knew it was a necessity. There is a tinge of sadness to it, but ultimately, I'm pretty damn happy about it because Garnacho is leaving. All right. Breaking Alejandro Garnacho to Chelsea. Here we go. Deal done between Chelsea and United. Garnacho only wanted Chelsea and will sign a 7-year deal at the club. Still blows my mind that Chelsea still do these contracts. Surely at some point that's all going to blow up in their face, man. Surely. Anyway. They will sign a 7-year deal for a fee close to the 40 mil package. Following on from that, David Ornstein saying that Chelsea reached an agreement with United for Garnacho, and it's going to be worth £40 million as a fixed fee and a 10% sell-on clause. Contract, as I said there, 7 years. No, nutty. Let's read through the article. Agreed a deal, 40 mil fixed, 10% sell-on, sign the contract. It's nothing. There's no other real information there to get for you. If you'd asked me at the beginning of the summer, or like even rewind to January when Napoli was sniffing around him, how much did they offer for it? Did they offer 40 mil for Garnacho at that point? And like we all laughed it off. Every United fan laughed it off. I think at the start of this summer, I wanted 70 mil for Garnacho. But I actually think, if I go back and look at the sort of dream summer that I wrote, I think I ended up putting 40 mil down. Not because I thought it was a dream, but I just thought that was a reality of the price. 10% sell-on clause if he goes on to nail it at Chelsea, which is possible. And Chelsea, let's be honest, are very good at selling players anyway. So even if he doesn't do well at Chelsea, they'll probably still sell him for more than they bought him for. So United should get a decent amount of money from that. I wanted it to be 50 mil. It's gone for 40 plus whatever that 10% sell-on. It feels cheap for a player of Garnacho's quality. But for a player who has absolutely no future at United, who has made his sort of, made his opinions clear, feels, sod that. It is cheap, isn't it? Right? It is cheap. Someone down there saying you're going to need new merch. No, it's something where, sorry, this is what happens when you go live literally after just finishing dinner. Never normally happens. I'm normally better at that. Professional, you know what I mean? Let me see what you're saying down here in the chat. Pure profit, now go and sign Baleba, says Brian. Ladies and gents, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I'm pretty sure that Man United have already spent the majority of their money this summer when it comes to what this money means. I imagine this 40 mil is going to go towards paying off the money that we've already spent. Now, in terms of the money for, we went after Baleba, so we must have been able to finance a deal somehow for him. I thought they have they announced the third sponsorship yet? What was the second one? Can't remember the name of it. First one was Coca-Cola. Second one was a weird one I can't really remember the name of. But don't think they announced a third one. Let me know what you're saying in the chat, right? What do you think about how this has gone? Because when you watch Garnacho playing for the under-18s and playing in the FA Youth Cup and you watch him there, I honestly, and I don't mean this in a rude way, I don't think Garnacho really matured much at all. I think Garnacho as a player now is very similar to the player who broke through and into Manchester United's first team in terms of how he plays football, in terms of how he approaches a game of football, in terms of being a head-down footballer. I don't particularly think that he ever sort of matured his game. He became the sort of central figure under Ten Hag. He ended up starting 30, 40 bloody games in a row, didn't he? Bit mad. He needed to leave. And yeah, JC, I think that's probably the best way to describe it. It is a bittersweet photo. Not like you needed this evidence, right? But last night against Grimsby is just the most humiliating reminder of what happens when the attitude isn't correct. And even with all these players frozen out, the attitude's still there. So it can't be like, oh yeah, the problem was just Rashford and Sancho and Garnacho, and you get rid of them and everything's solved. No. It's like I said in my video earlier today. I find it almost incredible that United have managed to change everything and then nothing changes at all. Stu, I did get the program. It's over there. I'm going to try and find some time to read it, but thank you very much for sending it in. By the way, the PO box is definitely working properly now, right? So if you fancy sending anything in for the wall, please send some stuff in. I want to try and get this filled by the end of the season. That's the plan. But yeah, the PO box is now working. Matt saying, how would a 10% sell on be decent if he goes for 100 mil, which he won't? We'll get 10 mil, and that means 50 mil total. It softens the blow a little bit. It definitely isn't as much as I wanted him to go for, but he needed to go. Sancho, and I still don't even know if Sancho's going to go, man. I've got a sneaky feeling that United are going to probably subsidise a loan to Turkey after the end of the window. That's what I would say is going to be my prediction there. Alex saying, Garnacho didn't play last night. Neither did Sancho. Why do we keep scapegoating players who don't play? It's not scapegoating, dude. That Garnacho... Do you want me... Okay. I'll go back and remind you of when he turned up late for pre-season training twice under Erik ten Hag and then was left out of the squad for the first couple of months. Well, I don't know the first couple of months. It took him a while. And then how he fell out. He wasn't doing enough in training under Amorim. And then he was dropped from the team against it. Garnacho had, if I remember correctly, off the top of my head, 3, maybe 4 different disciplinaries at United under different managers at various points. And I thought that photo there was quite an important photo to have here because this was after Garnacho got dropped against City. And this was when he worked his way back in to the point where Amorim brought him in to sit alongside him in a press conference. So he worked his way back through and back up. And it was all... Obviously, the straw that broke the camel's back was after the Europa League final, coming out and basically questioning why he didn't start. I'm definitely happy his brother's gone. Big perm down there. Right? No, I don't think Hojlund's not here we go yet, is he? Nope. Hojlund's definitely not here we go yet, because I would say that. Right, I'm going to speak about Hojlund later in the show. Let's see what you're saying down there. He thinks he's prime Ronaldo, but without the goals or ethic. I do think that Garnacho has an inflated sense of self-importance, and I tell you what, for the attitude that Garnacho has, and he's shown at Manchester United, to go to a club like Chelsea, where they've got 300 bloody players in every position, he is going to have to be phenomenal, really, to get in that team. Does he get anywhere near the starting 11? I don't really know. Right? Andy's saying it's more his online behaviour that's really nailed his coffin close to me. It's been childish. Quite a few times you'd seen it after the game is finished, straight in the dressing room, boom, straight on social media. The sort of things that maybe any one of you would do, but we're not the players. I suppose it must be hard for players to ignore it, man. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting game. 20th of September, back at Old Trafford. I can't really see Garnacho getting much game time. I don't know. Maybe he will. One thing I would say, right? One thing I would say to anybody is, like, I don't care what happens with Garnacho at Chelsea. To a certain degree, I care. Like, if he ends up banging in hat-tricks against United, sure. But don't be one of those fans that sort of engages with people saying, like, as soon as Garnacho does something good, as soon as Garnacho scores a goal, you know, I made such a mad bit. and like trying to get absolutely offended by every decision. And that United made a catastrophic mistake. Garnacho showed on like multiple occasions that he didn't have the discipline and the attitude required to be a Manchester United player. And that happened under more than one manager, so you can't come here pointing the finger at Amorim either. Vicky saying didn't get a notification when I went live because I went live at a different time. I can see not as many of you are tuning in, but it's all right. You get involved, you might get your comments read out some more. He's going to take a shot. Garnacho's definitely celebrating if he scores against United. Alex is saying, I don't care about players' attitudes anymore. I'd rather focus on patterns on the pitch, which I don't see. And I don't rate Garnacho at all. Overrated player. Now, I think Garnacho's going to have to develop his game if he wants to get into that World Cup squad. He's still a bit one-dimensional. And I was saying that. What was the game? I can't remember what it was. It was a League Cup game. Away from home. And he ended up playing on the right-hand side. And that was when he was firing in crosses. I think Hojlund had a header from like 6 yards and he completely missed. I'm happy he's going, man. It is a little bit bittersweet. And while the fee isn't what I wanted it to be, the fact that Garnacho's an academy player means it basically counts for more, doesn't it? There's no PSR fees you've got to pay off from previous years. No, it's just straight up pure profit. 40 mil, fixed fee. I wonder how much United will try and charge up front for Chelsea. They've probably got the cash. Chris saying, I prefer Garnacho to stay and Amorim to leave. United to me means wingers. Like, Chris, you got to stop drinking so heavily on a Thursday, mate. Seriously, it's not good for your health. Keep Garnacho. Tell you what, lads, I've got a great idea, right? I think what we should do is keep Garnacho and Sancho, probably make them manager and assistant manager, kick Amorim out. I think that might solve it. And then they can start on both wings. We've got Sancho on one wing and Garnacho on the other wing. Probably play Anthony as a false 9. Sorry, I had to take the piss out of that one. Can we give Sancho away? I don't know if you give Sancho away. Someone still has to want it. Now, on top of the Garnacho news, I'm going to cover this in the morning, all right? But on top of the Garnacho news, this is from Fabrizio saying, look, it's a matter of time with Rasmus Hojlund and Napoli. 45 million euros package. And that's a loan with a... See, I've read it's a loan with an option that becomes an obligation if Napoli qualify for the Champions League, which they really should do, considering they won the title last season. Unless they have an absolute drop-off, that will become an obligation. And 45 million euros, I believe, is the sort of book value of Hojlund at United now. Guarantee he goes there and has a cracking time. Serie A, there is more space. It's a different style of game. It's intense in different ways, but you don't get pressed like an absolute lunatic. And Napoli just won the league, right? I wish him the absolute, but I don't. If you're looking at players who are leaving this summer, right? Garnacho, I'm happy to see the back of. As sad as it is, I'm happy that he's gone because he made his choices and he made that very clear. And he's been sat there all summer long. Bayern Munich? No. Saudi? No. I'm going to wait. Let's wait until the end of the window so we can get, you can get a cheaper deal. He's probably ended up getting what he wanted. So that's one thing I would say about this deal, right? So this summer, quite an important part of it was, can Ineos change the perception of how clubs deal with United in the window? I don't really think that does that much. I think Chelsea, of the two, I think Chelsea have got the better end of the deal there. No? But I'm glad he's gone. Scott's angry in the comments. Nice work. Finally, a group of good youth coming through or purchased and wrecked them all and sold them. I don't really know what you're insinuating we did wrong with Garnacho, really. I think the thing that, if I was to try and, this would be an interesting question. If you were to try and pinpoint it, as a United fan, with Garnacho, like when it went wrong, because it did go wrong. When did it happen and why? I would probably say I think it went wrong when Ten Hag, was it this last, it was Ten Hag's second season, and it was all going to pot. But Garnacho started every single game. And I think he started like 38, 40 games in a row. And he just became almost like the only slight spark in a team that was completely dull and void of anything else. And I think that created that sense of self-importance. Like, I should be starting every single week now. Because he played that 40 games in a row. Man, that overhead kick. Oh. I still love that poster. Where is it? It's not in here. Somewhere else. Man, he scored some cracking goals. That goal away at Fulham. Yeah, it's a little bit bittersweet. But at the end of it, I'm not going to miss him or wish it. Am I even going to wish him well? Nah, not really. You're going to Chelsea, man. Why on earth would I wish you well? It's different. If Garnacho would be going to Napoli or something, I'd probably wish him, yeah, fine. Going Chelsea? Hell no. Let me see what you're saying down here. Bags of potential, says Huggy, but a crap attitude and the brother didn't help when he scored the overhead kick. He came under bad circumstances, says Salim. Nice to see you, buddy. When he started wanting to follow Rashford's lead, don't really know what you mean there, Klein. 40 is the minimum I would want, someone says down there. Too much too soon? Yeah, that's kind of what I feel is probably it. Too much too soon and became that central figure. And look, because Ronaldo was his idol, he followed firmly in his footsteps in terms of the attitude and approach. That attitude is a big part of the reason as to how Ronaldo ended up dominating and becoming the best player in the world. But you can't have that attitude and that approach if you don't back it up. And unfortunately for Garnacho, the level of arrogance it didn't diminish when the performances diminished, if you know what I mean. I suppose Ronaldo's didn't either. It's kind of why it got a little bit ugly with Ronaldo towards the end. Someone sent a super chat in there. Who's that? A couple of them. JCK saying, really wish Baleba happens now. I don't think it will. I think United have we've gone after him. He wants to join, but you can't really get into hand. You could get into hand in the transfer request, but it doesn't really strike me the player who's going to do that. And we don't want to pay as much as Brighton want to sell him for this summer. Or we can't. One of the two. Chigu saying, do you think he'll walk after the Burnley game? I'll speak about Ruben Amorim in a little bit. We'll finish the Garnacho conversation. Mr. Odigbo, you're saying, even Sam, hope you're well. What happens if Šeško gets injured/struggles? No backup striker except Cheeto is a worry. I think you've got Cunha and I think you've got Mbeumo. You've got options there that can play a game or two. Ideally, you wouldn't get him injured for an extended period of time, and it's clear that he's not 100% there yet. I've saw people like having a go at like trying to point and laugh at him for taking the last penalty. I think he had cramp, if I remember correctly, because that was the first game that he started, and he ended up playing the entire game. Yeah, Ornstein bombers at dinner time are really awkward. I agree on that. But look, so we've got, I'm trying to think of the numbers here. We've got 40 million there coming from Garnacho. We'll have 40, well, we won't actually get anything from the Hojlund deal until it becomes an obligation. So in terms of the savings and the money that we're making this, why is everyone saying Xerxes' name down there? Oh yeah, shit, Xerxes, I forgot. Man, I've completely forgotten about Xerxes. It kind of shows you what happens when players get injured and they just kind of disappear out the spotlight. I still think Xerxes is going to be better operating as one of the two number 10s than he is as the 9. It's just a better natural position. But in terms of the money we're going to get for Hojlund, we're going to get a loan fee, which I think is going to be in the region of somewhere like 5 to 7 million. And you're going to get the wages covered. So there'll be some money on top of that. And I don't know, yeah, it's because it's a 45 mil euro package. I imagine whatever the loan fee comes off what the fee that they'll pay at the end of it. Quite a few of you are asking for Senlemans and any updates on him. As it stands, the last I've heard was from the Times? Again, I was going to cover that tomorrow morning. I think it was from the Times. I might be wrong. Man, I can't find it. Anyway, The last I saw of it was that Galatasaray were in talks with Sendermons. United was still in talks with him too. Of course he's going to choose us. I think they're just posturing for the right price. It's going to be somewhere. It's not going to be mega money. It's going to be somewhere between 15 and 20 million sterling, I think. There you go. Alex saying, Sam, do you think the outgoings would allow for more incomings beyond? Look, truth be told, United were willing to go in for Baleba. All right, and that was after signing Šeško. Caught us all off guard. Mega surprise. So for United to have done that, they must have had an ability. Because imagine that, right? Imagine how stupid United would have looked. We go after Baleba. I know this is completely hypothetical here because it wouldn't have happened. But we went after him, and then Baleba put in a transfer request, and Brighton said, all right, cool, you can leave for 75 mil. And then United turn around and go, balls. I wasn't actually expecting you to say yes. We can't actually afford him this summer, so can we sign him next summer? No, I know that would never have happened, but United had a top price that they wanted to go for, and it was probably around that, to be fair, 75, 80 mil. Wasn't enough. I don't think we're going to be going back in for him because I don't think Brighton want to sell, and especially at this time of the window. Because what Brighton do well, Caicedo, perfect example, with Baleba as the replacement, is they find somebody, bring them in, train them up, and sometimes they hit another bullseye. But if we had the money for Baleba, then we do have the money for another midfielder. But it's that I'm speaking of catch-22s here. Who am I damn kidding? We've just lost to Grimsby. And the start of the season has been awful. And everybody knows, and Ineos will know, that results are required. So this idea now of, let's just see this season out and then go after Baleba next summer and then not just sign any midfielder now. I mean, it makes logical sense, but then when you look at the need and the requirement for a midfielder, and this happens every time. Like, we'll do a transfer window review next week, right? What would you rate it so far out of 10? Just curious, like in terms of the signings we've made and the sales we've made. We've made some cracking signings. But if we go into the season without that athletic number 6 midfielder, like as excited as I am, I've spoken about the logic of it. It seems like United are just basically going out to sign goals and do that. Well, that would work, lads, if you score goals. First 3 games, well, Grimsby aside, we're playing League 2 there. First 2 games, we scored 1 and it was an own goal from a corner. It's not exactly firing, is it? Richie, you're saying 8 out of 10, and so's Anshaman, and so's Kite Boy. We've got 6, someone says down there, Annie. 7.5, a couple of you are saying. 7 out of 10 on signings, 2 on sales. Yeah, I did say that I was going to judge a lot for Ineos in terms of how they sold this summer. And I honestly, and I don't mean this as some sort of like Ineos sympathising thing, but this football club is just so crap at selling players. It has been a long-standing problem how bad we are at selling football players and getting the right price for them. Sometimes that's down to negotiations. Sometimes that's down to maybe situations like this where it all kind of got played out a little bit ugly. Garnacho was cast to the shadows, didn't go on the pre-season tour, hasn't been involved in anything. So therefore, you know that he's not going to play for the club again, and that takes away a little bit of leverage. But I think Garnacho kind of did that himself. And this is something I think bears repeating. And remember this. You know, there's going to be people that blame Amorim for the reduction in the price of Garnacho because he went public with it all. He didn't. Yeah, you could say he went public because he said it in front of the team that Garnacho needs to find a new club. But he said that behind closed doors. The fact that someone's leaked it, well, it's very reflective of the problem that exists at our football club. Ruben Amorim can't even have a conversation with his team. A private conversation behind closed doors without somebody finding out what was said about it. And you wonder why there are still issues going on. But yeah, I don't blame Amorim for that, if I'm honest. Let me say, wages kill the sales. Yeah, they do, Jim. How you doing, Jim? Nice seat down there. A little bit of UPTV, Jim. To be fair, nearly every player we sell has baggage. Loads of players have baggage, man. Given United players are carrying about 4 suitcases, right? But everyone's got bloody package. Sancho will be a last-minute loan deal. Now, Brooks, I think, as I said earlier, I think Sancho will end up going Turkey on loan after the deadline because there's an extra 10 days. And he'll realise he's got no other options. But Sancho may well be prepared to just basically turn up to Carrington and use it as a spa for a year. Just go there, go into the sauna, go and have the free food, use the PlayStation, have a game of pool, go home. He might actually be fine with that. As grim as that is. Would that be breach of contract then? Maybe. I'd hope so. Imtiaz and Sam, I think if we were an unpopular club, we would sell easily. I don't know exactly what it is, if I'm being completely honest. Because it's something that goes way past Amorim, way past Ineos, years and years and years back. We're just notoriously bad at selling players. Whether that's the cheap negotiator, whether that's the player we're selling, we've held on to them for too long, they've got wages that are too high. I don't know. Right? 40 mil is less than I would have wanted. I wanted 70 mil at the start, and I'd refused to accept that Garnacho could play for a Premier League team. I was like, sod that. Sell him abroad. Don't want him to play for any other Prem team. And then look at my bloody position now. Look how much I've compromised on this Garnacho deal. To the point where I'm looking at going 40 mil plus a 10% sell on and going to Chelsea. Oh, yeah, that'll do. Kind of beggars can't be choosers. And Garnacho made it abundantly clear that he wasn't going to let United sell him to any other club apart from Chelsea. I've said this so many times this summer. Like, it blows my mind how much power players have in terms of where they're allowed to go or where they're doing. I mean, is that too surprising? I don't really know. And you're saying, for a long time, we've treated players as book assets to secure loans against and paid extortionate wages to boot. Made a double rob for our backs. Now, well, the big thing, a big reason we ballsed up was because the Paul Pogba situation then led Ed Woodward to come up with this grand club policy of saying, well, we're never letting that happen again. So we're never letting any of these contracts run out. So make sure you hand out really big contracts over a really long period of time. What do you mean? We're then stuck with players who are completely out of favour, who have years left on their contracts at massive wages. And our balls didn't think of that. It's about finding that balance, which I really, really, really hope that Chelsea do not find, because that just... It still blows my mind that they can do that. Now, remember that, Chelsea, they found that loophole that they could spread PSR over however many years of the contract and therefore spend more. That got reduced to 5 years. So it doesn't matter if you've got a contract that's 7 years long, you can only spread your PSR payments over 5 years. So that loophole got closed. But surely, like let's say, for example, I don't know, Garnacho's joined, is on, what, I don't know, call it 100 grand a week, 150 grand a week. I don't know how much he'll be on. I haven't seen anything to do with that. What if then in a year's time, doesn't work out, and Chelsea then try and sell him to Bayer Leverkusen, and he's got like 6 years left on his contract, worth 100 grand a week. Let's call it 100 because it's easier. 400 grand a week, 400 grand, 100 grand a week, 400 grand a month. Times 10, 4, add 4, 4.8. Times that by 6, 24. 6 times 8. 28 point something million in wages that will be left on a contract. Surely that's going to bite them in the arse at some point. Someone's saying Di Maria. Yeah. What else is saying down here? I think the main problem, says Matt, has been giving players daft contracts and nobody else wants to pay. Martial's on 250. I forgot about that. Shaw as well. That contract extension that Shaw got has to go down in the history books as one of the worst contracts his club's ever given out. We found out some bad ones. It wasn't like a 4 or 5 year deal at that point. 28.6. Yeah, I was thereabouts. What else are you saying down here? It's good to have a more calmer chat. I tell you what, my head was gone this morning. My head was so gone this morning. That was a grim show. Now that the dust has settled a little bit, and I will speak about this properly tomorrow, you're now seeing this come from the BBC, the fact that Amorim still has the support of the club. I always plan to do a video in the international break about some tactical tweaks that I think Amorim could do that would improve Manchester United and not be just a massive shift away from his ideology. Because I think he has to change. I think that game against Grimsby is like where you draw the line in the sand and say, right, okay, this iteration of Amorim's Manchester United, it's not going to work. It's not to say that you have to go, but just in its current format, it's not getting the results that we want. I'm not saying start playing hoofball, go 4-4-2, but there's going to have to be some tweaks and some changes from Amorim now, and it's up to him to find that. Luckily, he's going to have 2 weeks to work on that in the international break. But luckily, the first game back is going to be City. I'll be honest, I'll probably put money on us beating City. You know what we like in these big games. But I'm going to run through that in a lot more detail in tomorrow morning's show. But I know a lot of you would have wanted to hear that. Hey, look, it's easy. Sancho is the worst signing that this club has made. You know, Sam, all these things can happen if we just win games. If we just score goals. That's why we spent 200 mil on Cunha, on Mbumo, and on Šeško. Like, there are going to be problems in this team this year. But you know what kind of papers over those cracks? Just goals. Simple. Goals. Score more goals and you can make a lot more mistakes. Score no goals and one mistake can cost you 3 points. That feels like it's kind of been the approach for United this summer. And we didn't score against Arsenal. It was an own goal against Fulham. Yeah, I'm a little bit calmer this evening. That's all right. I'm just involved. I'm as involved as you are. And we're all pissed off about it. Let's finish on this now and I'll wrap this one up. Nice little quick evening show. I'm sad that Garnacho's leaving because of what could have been. But I'm not sad that Garnacho is leaving because he needed to go. He made his bed, he made his decisions, and he made his choices. And his choices have led to him joining Chelsea. I hope he absolutely sucks balls at Chelsea. I hope he never gets a minute of football. And I hope he gets into a contract dispute with that club and ends up getting loaned to Stuttgart. There you go. That's what I want. And yeah, how many tweets do you reckon Fabrizio actually did about Garnacho? It's got to be. I reckon. What do I think? Might actually have to count these. It's got to be a record. Like 30? 30, 40? Something like that. Right? He's gone. I'm not wishing him the best of luck because he's joined Chelsea. If you've gone abroad, just like I would, once this gets confirmed, I will wish nothing but the best of luck to Hojlund. I will not do the same for Garnacho. All right. Thank you all for tuning in. It's a quick one, little half an hour show here tonight. Here we go for Garnacho. If you are new here, please make sure you do subscribe. I'm here live Monday to Friday at 10 a.m. every single day, Monday to Friday. All right. Take it easy.